it's time to open up the box, and we're going to be finishing up every single Warhammer 40k faction explained part 2 2.0 for me. Of course, all credit goes to Bricky and what he did with this video. It's all his. I'm just, of course, reacting to it. So go to his channel, like, subscribe, all that stuff, and support him. But anyways, let's get started.
You are invaded by Chaos Marines or something. You take a
Is that
bolter
no
shot
echo?
to the head or a chain sword across your stomach and you get cut in half. Painful, but not the worst. The orcs arrive. They beat you to death. Hurts, but, you know, whatever. Tyranids, they eat you alive. It's pretty rough. The
Good little
Dark
biomass.
The Dark Eldar. This is going to get a little graphic.
Nice.
I apologize. You pray you die. You don't. You are instead taken as a human slave. Your life will be endless work and agony, 24/7. They will make sure you can't not die, as your pain satisfies them.
Check this
will
out.
hook
Hold
you
on.
up to
Check this out, guys. Where is it? Right here. Okay. Revelation 9, 6, or verse 6. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, shall desire to end themselves, and death shall flee from them. Interesting. Very interesting.
all manner of torture devices. They will inject pain-based stimuli drugs directly into your nervous system. They will slowly run razor blades across your skin.
They literally have a drug out there that a lot of kidnappers and stuff like that use, and they'll torture you or whatever, and then they'll stick you with some adrenaline or whatever it is, and it'll keep you awake and alive, man. Crazy.
Will fillet you and pull out your teeth and your fingernails one by one. They will remove
It's interesting.
your appendages and your skin.
People in bad people in World War II, there was a person who would take toothpicks, put them in the front, your nerve endings on your fingers, and pull your nails off and all that crap, man. Anyways,
and wait for it to grow back so they can do it again. They will murder and torture and use the R word. It rhymes with grape. Your entire family in front of you.
Jeez.
And do the exact same thing to them. You yourself will also be rhymes with grape anywhere and everywhere possible. And this will occur for 20 years
the dreaded demonetization.
until you are no longer satisfying to them. And then you will be
I won't have to worry
contorted,
about that for a while.
and twisted into some form of trophy, a fleshy trophy, or a ring, or a couch, or a TV stand,
Done
or
by a
perhaps a wonderful
demonic,
cat,
even
while you
more
are, of
demonic
course,
Shiva.
still alive and breathing, and you will become a moaning, fleshy
Yikes.
trophy for eternity. And that is what happens when you are taken by the Dark Eldar. They are the most depraved, most horrifying race in all of 40k. They look the part, and they do it so they all don't die. They are literally forced to do this, because if they don't, Slaanesh's grip will get harder, and they will have their souls pulled away. So long as they keep doing this, Slaanesh is like, "You're doing good, man. You're doing solid. You keep that shit up, you elf-eared bastards." That's the Dark Eldar. That's the Drukhari.
Pretty much,
They
yeah.
are horrible. On the tabletop, they're actually kind of like Eldar, but more extreme. They are even squishier than the Eldar, but they hit generally even harder. Fast attacks, skirmishers, really quick, speedy, get around them, do a lot of damage, get away kind of stuff. That's the most.
I like those ships. They kind of remind me of the Greek ramming naval ships that they had.
Dark Eldar. Look up the definition of grim dark in a dictionary. You'll find a picture of the Dark Eldar. And
I can see that.
From Republic Commando. A quote from Mr. Vect.
That was a underrated
"We are the
game.
lords of despair, masters of terror. Dread and agony are our meat and wine, and they are plentiful indeed." Dark Eldar. Let's talk about the harlequins. Clowns.
Check this out real quick. Hold on. Is it this one? No, not that one. Which one was it? No, not. Jeez. Right here. King James. With the hypocritical mockers and feasts, jesters, they gnashed upon me with their teeth. Very interesting there. There's jesters. I guess you could say harlequins, right?
What's the matter, Andy? Don't you want to have some fun?
No.
The Harlequins are
No,
a bizarre
not
race
with you.
of Eldar. They're demonic clown performers.
Especially
They're
the one
like
from
a
Scary
weird
Movie 2.
mix of Sander Cohen from Bioshock and Jin from League of Legends, but in a more clown theme. They're artists of death and perfecters of their craft. They do not belong to craft worlds or any of the weird Drukhari people. They guard something called the Black Library, which is this giant tome of never-ending knowledge.
That's the production company, right? That produces the books, correct? Should be. I do remember. I know the Eye of Terror was from the Black Library. I don't know if all of them are.
Knowledge deep in the heart of the Eldar webway, and also guarded by their god named Kegorok, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He is the laughing god, but
It looks like the god called Cernos, actually.
it's the Eldar's laughing god, and these are the Harlequins, the Harlequin clowns. These are Eldar clowns. Okay, so imagine the things that an Eldar, these
Yikes.
depraved individuals, would find funny, and this is the god of that.
Jeez.
It's a horror clown. These are gods of horror for us normal people. For them, they're like, oh, it's so funny. They're all dying horribly. Honk, honk. They're very bizarre and difficult to describe. They've escaped the ruinous powers of Slanesh somehow, but their main thing is guarding that Black Library. And the Harlequins just... they're demon clown performers. They're barely any models on the tabletop. They're good in melee. They're demon clowns. I'm not sure. I got a quote. It is too easy for an Eldar to embrace the obscene virtues of chaos, for Slanesh is nothing more than a manifestation of the Eldar mind in its most wild and unconstrained form. Human morality is meaningless to the Eldar, and to the dark side of the Eldar mind, all life is to be expended.
Gotta love that
at a
correction
whim.
mark there, huh?
Cruelty
On
and
live.
generosity are but the impulse
You were
of the
spelling this
moment.
wrong.
Beauty and sensuality are virtues that can be expressed in bloodshed just as easily as in song. To an unfettered Eldar mind, there is neither sanity nor madness, but merely a wave of perfect existence fulfilled by its own savage momentum. They're very...
Wow. There's something else, huh? That's like a...
very strange. The Harlequins, Drukhari, Eldar, they are an anomaly that make humans seem completely easy to understand in comparison. They range
Yeah.
from rekindling their
True that.
civilization to horrifying murder and also clowns. They're all over the place, but honestly, they represent quite well and are rather interesting, especially with the whole Slanesh murdering everyone bit. So, yeah, Eldar. Now, bugs.
Ma, they following me, Ma. They follow
Hold on.
these the bugs.
The
Sorry.
Tyranid.
Okay. So, in that same one where men shall seek death one, here, and the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold. This is Revelation 9, 7 through 10. Okay. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots, of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and their stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. Up here it talks about, says, And which they it was given to them that they should not kill, blah, blah, blah. And their torment was the torment of scorpions when it striketh a man. Now, the institutions would tell you these are helicopters, right? But I don't remember anything coming from that tail other than a rotor, right? No stings, right? So, these are humanoidal bugs, right? So, very interesting.
Now, you want to talk something a lot more fun, a little more simple than all this crazy Eldar shenanigans? Let's talk the Tyranids. They're bugs. Do they look like Zerg? Hell yeah, they look like Zerg. You want to know why they look like Zerg? Because they were actually supposed to be what Zerg were. Apparently, StarCraft was supposed to be a 40k game in the beginning, hence why they look so much like Eldar, Zerg, and the Imperium of Man. Like, kind of Space Marine-y. Those Marines, huh? They look a little bit Space Marine-y to me. Maybe. I don't know. You really fucked up on that one, Games Workshop, didn't ya? Tyranids.
I say so. StarCraft, I've never gotten to RTSs at all, but I know StarCraft was a big game. So was Dawn of War, which, by the way, that's going to be my next gaming stuff is Dawn of War and Space Marine. So there's that.
Are a giant infestation of unfathomable proportions. These are giant, extremely bio-advanced hive mind organisms that are basically all about absorbing as much biomass as they possibly can to evolve and mutate to be extremely potent and powerful and kill and eat anything in their path. They are probably the least evil faction in all of 40k.
There is a verse, I didn't bring it up, I don't think, where it talks about, in Revelations, the 10 kings, right? The 10 kings, and it talks about how they will be like one mind. So a hive mind. Very interesting.
Because all they want to do is eat shit. They want to nom nom the entire galaxy. They hangry and we food. Also, this Tyranid hive mind has
Eat a
a
Snickers.
presence in the warp. In fact, Tyranids in their own right have a massive presence
AKA
in the warp.
biomass
There's a thing
for
called the
them.
shadow in the warp specifically, where when they are coming in to invade a planet, they have this weird ability to kind of cut off the warp on all the psychers on that planet.
Jeez.
And how do you get help across the stars? Well, you need the warp because you need that for interstellar travel. So
It's basically what happened in the Age of Strife, well, not exactly like that, but when the warp was cut off. I mean, look how much strife that brought. Imagine a whole Tyranid force, man, and you're cut off, completely cut off.
with people unable to call for help from the Tyranids, these are just easy pickings. And an entire giant Tyranid hive fleet comes out of orbit and just will massacre, absorbing all that biomass and turning them and all of their other Tyranids into even more advanced monsters. They
And a
come
lot
in
of
so many
gas.
varieties too, all based on what is important.
They eat meat, they would
Tiny
definitely
little
have
Ripper
gas.
swarms for scouting and having little dudes eat people up, to the Hormagons, Termagants, and Gene Stealers, all the way to the Hive Guard and the Exocrines and the Swarm Lord, to Hive Tyrants and their giant battle
That's a
fleets,
cool
and
sword.
even something as crazy as
Can
the
I have it?
Hierophant Bio Titan. The Tyranids come in
See, that's the physical form of the Stranger Things monster. Right there.
all forms and sizes depending on what they require. They are extremely good at anti-biological weaponry. There is no way you can plague them or blight them. They have extremely strong armor, carapaces and such. Tyranids are nigh perfect organisms and are pretty spooky when it comes down to how they handle
some
all of their
spoopy.
genetic material. Keep feeding them, they'll keep evolving. They keep on creating new horrifying organisms to spread across the
Never
galaxy.
fret when you got
One of the
Rambo
most
here.
terrifying part of the Tyranids is we might be surrounded. There have been like around 6 or 7 Tyranid hive fleets.
Just imagine being stuck in like a fob, right? And you got enemies coming from all sides, like at each different times. on a galactic scale. That's crazy.
Behemoth, Kronos, all these different kinds of hive fleets, and they've all arrived in the galaxy from different points. Different sections of the Milky Way galaxy have had different Tyranids come through. And that is horrifying.
Yeah.
Because as far as we know, we could just be surrounded on all sides by Tyranids. The only reason you may not hear a whole lot about Tyranids is because it's a little bit hard to have a bunch of story off of one hive mind genocidal
I can
monsters.
see that.
All these giant bugs swarming in, killing and eating everybody and evolving. Oh, I mean, as cool as there are, there's some cool characters. The Swarm Lord, Old One Eye. You can't really.
I like that graphic. Kind of reminds me of the old school Jinko. You know, face and hair, doesn't it? Kinda. Nice.
Have a whole bunch of major character-based stories around them. As awesome as they are, they're simple. They want to eat you. They want to eat you and absorb your biomass. They are simple bugs. If you want something a little more complex, talk gene stealer cults.
I can have all the pot I want, I get around faster than walking, and wherever I need a seat, I can just sit on my balls.
What?
Gene stealer cults are a special brand of Tyranid
I've
that
done
can
that.
slowly infect themselves.
I've done that many times, and I hated every last bit of that. That is the worst pain in the world. Okay. I don't know why that guy was so excited about that.
Into different kinds of society, and by infecting them, they can rise up to where they all pray and believe in these regular humans, pray and believe into their Tyranid hive mind gods. And these brood lords, and I think they're called patriarchs, all can turn an entire world, all based into gene stealers. And these are called gene stealer cults. An entire hive world of the Imperium can be turned into nothing but servants to the Tyranid masters just by infecting them and screwing with their genetic code a little bit. They also have this cool like Mad Max look, which is really neat. They are definitely one of the...
I wouldn't mind getting like a gene stealer mask thing, man, and just scaring people with it. Like, yeah, that would be funny.
bigger threats to the Imperium besides Chaos. I keep saying biggest threat to the Imperium. They're up there, though, because you, dingus, stepped on a bug in middle school. Asshole. There is a cancer eating at the Imperium. With each decade, it advances deeper, leaving drained, dead worlds in its wake. This horror, this abomination, has thought and purpose that functions on an unimaginable galactic scale. And all we can do is to try to stop the swarms of bioengineered monsters it unleashes upon us by instinct. We have given the horror a name to salvage our fears. We call it the Tyranid race. But if it is aware of us, it must know us as nothing but prey. Tyranids. They're cool.
Yummy.
But are they as cool as the orcs?
Here we go, guys. Boy, do I got a verse for you. So, look, guys, if you think I'm nuts, crazy for talking about this stuff, I don't blame you. I had the same reaction, okay? So I don't blame you guys. It took me a few years, okay? It took me a few years to get around to this stuff, right? But anyways, Joel 1:6. For a nation has come up upon my land, strong and without number. Okay, sure, there's a lot of armies out there, strong without number. Now, here we get to the juicy. Whose teeth are the teeth of a lion, and he had the cheek teeth of a great lion. So let's go to lion's teeth. Here's a better one. Look at that. Very interesting. Here's another picture. There you go. Here's an actual cheek teeth. See if we can see this one right here. If you look at those, man, those are some sharp things there. Some teeth. Now let's go to the orcs. Check out this guy's teeth. Now before I thought that was talking about vampires, But once I started getting into Warhammer, it's made me rethink a lot of things. So, very, very interesting. Are these guys orcs? Or a form of it? Anyways.
Screen's gone red. That means I'm super fast.
Orcs, 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 orcs. I fucking love orcs. So, yes, the green monsters, the green tide, the green skins.
No
These
more
orcs, they are in fact
humies.
a race in
I can't
40K.
do it. Not even gonna
Orcs
try.
are as exactly what you expect them. They have archaic weapons, they're big boys, they have axes, and they have got big old teeth, and they want to kill everything, and there are so many of them. The only reason they haven't taken over the entire galaxy is they can't stop murdering each other. Orcs are so cool. Orcs don't have
Yeah,
philosophy.
you gotta give it to
Orcs
them.
don't have existential crisis. What matters is who's the biggest
Look at those
orc.
teeth.
You listen to that guy, because he the biggest orc. He big orc. Big orc knows best. You win through the power of imagination. Of all the races I have battled throughout the galaxy, the orc is the hardest to comprehend. They wage war with machines that
You can tell
should
he's
not
an orc
work,
player.
care little for strategic gains, and are just as likely to slaughter each other as the enemy. How does one battle an enemy that defies all logic? As an orc, you're enjoying life. You're enjoying the life you're given. Your whole life and job and purpose is to
Imagine
get
if
up
everyone
and
did that.
beat each other to death because you can.
Maybe
The
not in
biggest
their
orc
way,
is
of
the
course,
man who
but
understands everything. He is the boss. And orcs have this really weird, like, big, dumb, stereotype British accent, which is just hilarious to me. Those are
Not
orcs.
even gonna try.
You fight.
Like I said.
You like to fight. Your whole purpose is to fight.
are those like kamikaze guys there or something? You know, the guys with the rockets? Or are those just like a way for them to have jetpack type stuff? Let me know in the comments.
You wage war because you want to wage war. You got your boss over there, and you better listen to the boss, because if you don't listen to the boss will squish you and make you an example for the other orcs. And then you can't fight because orc dead. And orc dead can't fight because orc dead. Orcs, they scrap together machines out of parts that don't make any sense, and because they believe, they have the mental imagination
Look at that, man.
machine will run, it'll run.
This should not run whatsoever. Gotta love the orcs.
If that machine's out of gas, you're driving that machine with your fellow orcs, and the biggest orc is behind the wheel, and you run out of gas, some orc behind you is like, oh, Zog, we're out of gas. And the big orc is like,
will
no,
it.
we're not. I filled the fucking gas tank up earlier. And all the other orcs are like, oh, yeah, you did do that. And then you turn the fucking mech back on, and it works again. Does it have gas? Probably not, but it works through the power of imagination.
It's on the fumes of imagination, right?
They paint things red because it makes them think they goes faster. They paint things.
Oh, okay. I was wondering why everything's red. I know bulls, they have a thing about red, but I don't. Who knows? That's 100% true or not. Anyways,
Purple because it's the sneakiest color. You want to know why? You ever seen a purple orc? Didn't fucking think so. Orcs are also like ancient as hell. They're back in the Eldari time frame. But back then they were called Krorks, and they were much larger and scarier and far more intelligent. Now they're just orcs, and they're big, dumb, and they smack things. But they're pretty spooky. They're not very well armored, but they hit really hard. And it's called the Green Tide because there are so many orcs. There are about as many orcs as there are Tyranids. Maybe more. Who knows?
Yikes.
But they keep on, murdering each other, so it's not too bad of an issue. Orcs are entirely comic relief. Their stuff is slapped together. That makes no sense. Their vehicles don't work the way they're supposed to, but they work because they think it works, because they imagine that it works. Orcs care only about who is the biggest orc, and they will follow the biggest orc. And then if they want to be the biggest orc, they'll challenge the biggest orc. And then when they go and they issue a wa is just war in orc, they murder everybody and everything in this giant tide of green orcs who are just excited to be hitting something. They don't care that they're hitting Eldar or the Imperium or Tau or anyone in between. They're just so they get to beat shit up. That's orcs. And on the tabletop, they are a total coin flip, and they're really fun. I have never met a salty orc player. I have never met someone who plays orcs and is ever just a bad guy or that guy. Orc players have this kind of fun to them because when you play them, you are completely submitting yourself to RNG. So here's the thing.
I hate RNG though. I hate it so much sometimes, man. Especially in Black Desert. Man. Anyways. But you can see why the orc players, you know, you have to have that funniness to you, right? And that off the wall, just have fun kind of mentality when you play the orcs. I could see that.
Guardsmen, Imperial Guardsmen, when they shoot, they roll a dice, and on a 4 up, they'll hit their target. They have a 50% chance. Space Marines, pretty good. They hit on a 3 or higher because they're well trained. Adeptus Custodians, they hit on 2s because they're just super well trained. Orcs, they hit on a 5 or higher. But if they roll a 6, they get to make another shot with anything, from the dinkiest pistol to the biggest rocket launcher. It doesn't matter.
Nice.
Half of their stuff will blow up on a whim. One of their medics, if you roll a 1 to heal someone, you fuck up your surgery and you just kill an orc. They're so wacky and silly. But the thing is if you roll well, you roll high, and you keep rolling high, you are going to crush people. And if you don't, you lose. I mean, that's what you get when you play orcs. That's what happens when you play orc. It's a coin flip. Which is why you can't be a salty bitch when you play orcs, because things won't go your way. It's just the roll of the dice. You're playing a dice game. But if you're going to have fun, and you want to be stupid, and you want to be silly, you're going to play some damn orcs. But on the opposite side of the fun part of this, let's talk about the Necrons. The Necrons are spooky, scary skeletons and very grimdark again.
There were some verses that went along with this, but it didn't really fit in, so I just kept them out. So there's that.
They have a much more fleshed out lore than before. Back in the day, they were just undead Egyptian space terminators, and they still look that way, but now they actually have a story. So way back in the day, you had the Necron tier. Kind of see a theme here: Eldari, Eldar, Krork, Orc, Necron, Necron tier. So the Necron tier were this race of generally kind of shitty people. Not because they were personally shitty, because their lives were awful. They were ill-fated to a horrible existence of like radiation and a terrible planet they lived on, and everything just really sucked. Being a Necron tier was just really depressing. They really were looking for immortality. They were extremely reliant on the hope that they would eventually find the key to living forever and just stave off this horrible nature that they were thrust upon them, and therefore they could become the most dominant race in the galaxy. And they found this group. They're called the Old Ones. Imagine them kind of like the Forerunners in Halo or the Xel'Naga in StarCraft, right? These Old Ones were these strong, pretty much omnipotent beings, and they, of course, knew the key to immortality. So the Necrons went to them and said, please, show us your ways. And the Old Ones said, piss off. Not really. They were a lot more humble about it, but they did not want to share their secret of immortality with the Necrons.
I can understand it, I guess, because that would make more competition, right? So
the Necrons, of course, took this very well and waged war with them, kind of under this united banner. The Necron different dynasties didn't really like each other, but under this one man, the Silent King, he thought the best way to unite his race was to do this giant war with the Old Ones out of spite for them keeping the secret of immortality to them. This was known as the War in Heaven, and this is actually like a multi-stage war, because during this war in heaven, they discovered the Star God.
how long was the war in heaven? Are we even given that, or let me know in the comments if you guys can.
It's a whole new race of people known as the Catan, or the Catan. These star gods were also very much like Old Ones, almost omnipotent beings, and they too had
It's
to
the
keep
Disturbed
immortality.
guy.
And so the
It's
Necrons
David
went to them and
Draymond.
said, hey, you help us fight off the old ones? Can you help us kill these old ones?
The heck
You,
is
the Catan?"
that?
And the Catan said yes.
What the heck is that? Are these the old one? Or the neck? I don't know. What? Sorry.
And in fact, we can help provide you with the immortality you so desperately seek. So the Silent King of the Necrons decided to make a pact with the Catan to allow them to accept this generous gift of immortality upon them. But this, of course, had been a horrendous trap, and the Necrons were dragged in chains to this biotransference where their flesh was stripped from them, replaced with nothing but a metal hollow shell, as their souls were ripped from their body and fed to the Catan. And the Catan fattened up. They got chonk on the souls of the Necrons.
Big
As this was their
chonkus.
plan all along, they consumed the flesh and
Not
souls
chungus,
of the Necron
chonkus.
tier and turned them all into unwilling robotic slaves just to serve their will. And then with their
That is a cool
newfounded
graphic.
Necron army, they
That's
pointed
really
their
cool,
guns
actually.
at the old ones, and
So
the
is that one.
Necron continued their domination of the stars and their genocide, complete and full genocide of these old ones. The old ones did their best to stave it off. They even created other races.
It's hard to say if they were in the right or wrong. I mean, I could see why they didn't do it, but in a way, you know, they were bringing it on themselves, kind of. But, you know, these guys ended up being a-holes anyways, so if they would have had, you know, immortal life, and look at the camera, sorry, but, that immortality would probably make things 100 times worse, you know, so it's a catch-22.
Races, the Eldari and the Orcs, to try to fight off the horrifying Necron army and the Catan above them. But there was absolutely no possible chance for them. And the old ones were absolutely extinguished across the galaxy. Their entire race completely removed. Full-on 100% genocide. However, during
Dang.
all this, the Catan, so just infatuated with
I don't know
their
why that
country,
made me laugh.
started fighting each other for fun, for sport, and for small differences. Doesn't matter. The Catan, with these overpowered people, they're going to eventually hit each other at some point. And as they began just menially fighting each other, the Eldari and the Orcs actually started pushing on the Catan's borders a little bit, giving them a little bit of a run for their money. And as this continued, this is when the Silent King, who retained his consciousness, decided to leap into action and start a full-scale revolt against their Catan masters. And this revolt
Now, the
was
Catan-
bloody, as
The Catan deserved that, what they got. I would definitely agree with
the
that.
entire Necron army was surged off to destroy these star gods. They were able to, just after suffering horrendous losses, were able to turn the tide of the war. And they took these Catan and they blasted them. Because as these star gods are unkillable, they were able to break them into thousands of shards and entrap them in giant stasis vaults to now actually be slaves to the
Dang.
Necrons. And with the Necrons having the entirety of their
Well, that
old
sucks.
gods enslaved to them, they realized that soon their race was about to be attacked by the overcoming new races, the Eldari and the Krorks. And so what they did is they retreated into giant stasis tombs in order to preserve their energy and their strength for when one day they would be reawakened and they would be able to rule the galaxy that was rightfully theirs. And then some dingus Adeptus Mechanicus guy fiddled
Adeptus Dingus.
with a green console, and now the Necrons are back, and they see all these primitive races on their lawns, and they think, get the fuck off of it. The Necrons are back, super advanced, and they are here to reclaim the galaxy that they so rightfully believe is theirs. Now, at tabletop, they're a lot like that. Tons of undead Egyptian skeleton robots that when they die, they just get right back up because they
You gotta admit, they do look cool. I like that color green, too.
keep on reanimating, hard to kill, tons of crazy stuff. You can use the Catan themselves as units to
Oh,
fight with.
nice.
It's pretty cool. The Necrons are one of the three major events in 40k. The Horus Heresy, the Fall of the Eldar, and the Awakening of the Necrons are all pretty substantial events. And the Necrons themselves are pretty dang cool as well. Here's a good quote from a wonderful Dawn of War game. Lucky creatures, as long last you have found the tranquility.
By the way, I think I said this already in this video, but anyways, I am going to be playing Dawn of War in Space Marine. I think I already said that though. Anyways.
Of death. I was like you once, clinging to life and blind to the truth. When I uncovered the truth, I too shuddered and paled with fear. Deep in these catacombs, I was remade. Here, my brethren slumbered for eons while the living grew like weed. My Lord knew this day would come. He had plans for us all. We would purge this world once more. So come, poor victims of life. We will grant you tranquility in these crypts. Kronos will be a tomb world once more. Necrons are also pretty smug. Trazen the Infinite especially, a little dickhead. But speaking of dickheads, last race, let's talk the Tau.
Alright, real quick. Which one is it? Okay. This is Revelation 16, 13, 14. Now this has nothing really to do much with the Tau, I get, or even look like them or anything, but it's about the alien grace. And I saw 3 unclean spirits, like frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth. Now pay attention to that part. The kings of the earth and the whole world, to gather them to battle of the great day of God Almighty. So, and Ronald Reagan made a speech somewhat about this. He said, if an outside force came and invaded our world, right, how quickly we would all come together. I don't know. Very interesting. Anyways, just some food for thought with that. Oh, actually, I did forget. I wanted to show that. So these are alien greys, right? Gotta pay attention to the hands here, right? There's actually a really decent one here. Hold on. Where is it? I guess that was a good one, I guess. So you see the little, how their fingers are, right? Here's frogs. And if you guys remember who watched my Warhammer 40k in the Bible series, oh, I lost my train of thought on it. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. It's gone. Apologies. But yeah, that's interesting, huh? Bible's a lot more than what people have given it. I'll just say that.
The exact formation of the Tau Empire is not entirely understood. However, a long time ago, many thousands of years ago, in the 40k world that is, some Imperial navigation vessels were going around through different areas, and they saw a primitive race, blue people, smacking each other with sticks and stones. They thought, dumb Xenos race, who gives a shit? And they bailed. Then this giant warp storm occurred right in that major area, unable to be breached. Then, once that warp storm 6,000 years later subsided, hello, those little sticks. Well, they decided to actually have no war of any kind and all just unite together under one flag of the Tau Empire. And now they have gigantic starships and Gundam robots and lasers and railguns and mechs, and they are here to ruin your day for the greater good. That is generally the Tau Empire. They have this kind of feeling of...
You better follow the greater good, or you will get destroyed, right? That's how it usually works.
This homogenous group. All species
In the
can
40K.
go underneath the banner of the greater good. The greater good is their idea of the fundamental increase and help of all. In fact, they
So it's their creed, right? Not necessarily like a religion thing, but it's like a creed.
are most likely the most like the Covenant in Halo, where they have the overarching prophets, being the ethereals, who are actually kind of dicks and like to pull at strings a little bit, but then you have all these different
always.
races directly underneath them, and they all work together in this big group as this large, foreboding race that tries to spread their weirdly pseudo-religious influence across the galaxy. The alien is not intrinsically evil. Do not hate him. Pity him, his ignorance. Seek to understand his differences and equate him with his inadequacies. Only then
Nice.
will he accept his place in the greater good. That is generally the Tau. And if you're kind of wondering like what their mainly big shtick is, well, they're all about big robots and mechs. They have laser rifles and rail guns. They got giant mechs with tons of missile pods and heavy rail rifles and rail guns.
Dang, man.
And burst cannons and ion accelerators.
Dangerous.
And shields and all this stuff. And that is generally what the Tau's all about. But you're probably thinking, Bricky, this doesn't sound that evil. This doesn't
Yeah.
sound very grim, dark.
Yeah, I would say it doesn't necessarily fit too well with the grim dark aspect of it, right? But I also think it's good to have balance, because when you stay in that the grim dark, and you keep, like, say you keep reading books that are all dark, right? You almost get kind of tired of it. So it is nice to have a little bit of relief from that. But they are a little, I guess, out or odd, because they're mechs and stuff like that, or like in a regular old sci-fi, right? It has really not much to do with like the Gothic or the Egyptian or anything like that. Anyways,
Warhammer. And you'd be right. The Tau Empire really don't have that much of a horrifying, grim, dark style like everybody else. They're much more younger, new age thing. In fact, they're probably a lot less evil and a lot even better than they are now back in the day, because they liked having like that good guy faction. But a lot of us who really like the dark, depressing style of Warhammer didn't really like it that much. So, see, the Tau get a lot of hate, and a lot of that hate isn't necessarily unjustified. It's mainly from a tabletop perspective, but as you can see from all the visuals I've shown you recently, they don't really fit in the 40K universe.
they get their butts kicked by melee. They don't have melee. That's why I can't do it. I can't play them. My guys are probably will be the salamanders, but I'm also looking at the lamenters, from the Blood Angels. Let me know if there's any books. I've been trying to see. I haven't found any, so I'm guessing there isn't really much about them. But yeah, if you know of any books that has the lamenters in it, let me know.
Very well. They lack that super dark, dramatic, kind of high gothic level the Imperium has. They don't have the weird kind of like grungy stuff that Chaos or say the Orcs do. And the Necrons and the Eldar have their own specific style as well. The Tau really do look like something out of Gundam. And while it isn't necessarily a bad thing, it does definitely not fit too well. There's that.
Yeah.
There's also the tabletop problem. In tabletop, Tau are horrible at melee combat, but exceptionally good at range combat. So they blast everyone from really, really far away, and they have a million rules to make it so that it's nearly impossible for you to get into melee combat. So it basically just forces you to bottleneck the game into one specific gameplay style, which is gun to gun. And if you're doing gun to gun, they're going to win every time, because they're the Tau, and the Tau are really damn good at shooting. So it's one of those things that make the Tau generally rather hated, and a lot of different reasons
I could see why.
for that, both from style and such. But this is actually one of the things I wanted to end this video with, is that the Tau, while they have their issues, you should not be discouraged from playing them. I'll
Yes.
make plenty of Tau weeaboo.
Yes, always play what you want to play, and what your play style is, and if you like the aesthetic, right? Always do that. Me, I used to do metagaming, right? But in reality, it was just a chore. You know what I mean? And I hated it. Once I started playing the way I wanted to play, you know, I actually started having fun in MMOs and stuff like that, right? So,
jokes. Of course I will, but it's all generally in good fun. Anyone who legitimately doesn't win
especially when you have to pay $40,000 to get your stuff. You guys know the meme, you know. 40K stands for as much money you're going to be spending on the product.
you to play a faction is an idiot and you shouldn't be giving them the time of day. You pick what you think
Yeah,
is
I agree.
cool and what you like. In Warhammer, especially now, factions get better and they get worse. They grow.
I really
and they
like the
fall.
salamanders,
You should
so
only
I'll
be
probably
playing
play
what you
that
think
most
is
likely.
cool. You like the look, you like the models. If you're talking tabletop, that is what
Green
you
is
should be
like
going
one of my
for every
favorite
time.
colors
It's what
too,
you
so.
think is badass because things change all the time. But the universe of Warhammer has so much going for it. Every faction has something interesting.
I agree.
Every character has a story, and there's a million stories to be told. The universe is vast.
And you can debate a lot about it too. That's what I love about it, man. Everybody has their opinions, you know, and it's been an awesome talking with you guys in the comments. So thank you guys. You guys have been more supportive than a lot of Christians. So thank you guys.
And exciting, and while it is dark, depressing, and horrible, that is the damn charm. And out of everything I've told you in these two videos, if anything you could take away is the reason why so many of us are so into this series and why we like it so much. Because
That's why I'm addicted.
so much variety, such an expansive universe, and so much that can be done, you can find yourself having a pretty great time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it has been informative to you. If you
Very
want to see more
informative.
of me, Bricky, we have twitch.tv/Bricky for my streams.
So go ahead and go check him out there on twitch.tv/Bricky. Of course, his YouTube channel.
You have my merchandise site in which I was wearing all of my merch, but underneath this because I had to wear this so it wasn't black or white for the green screen, which is a little different, but it's fine. If you like
That
to see
would have been
merch,
rough.
it's in the description. Also, if you'd like to support me on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Bricky for more videos like this, then that would also be wonderful. So Twitch, merch, Patreon, anything if you want to support, that would be fantastic. I'd appreciate it. If not, I'm just stoked you got all the way to the end of the video, and that is enough for me. So we're going to be having some more content like this out in the future. Thank you so much for sticking around this long and being with me through this pretty rough time. That's, I think, all I got. Also, before I go, let me leave you with my favorite Warhammer quote. He who scoffs at the power of the las gun has never ran through a field of 1,000 of them.
Yes, sir. I love it.
Bye-bye.
I love the last gun, man. I don't care. I don't care what anyone says. Let's go ahead and watch all of it here to help him out here. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching, and you guys have a wonderful day.